Legendary commanders that you should avoid in the early game. So if you're a beginner and you're watching this video, you definitely need to pay close attention. If you are a player who is doing a restart for KVK1, this is very important. Do not skip through the video because you're going to miss out on a lot of key information of commander investment. Because if you invest in these commanders and you waste your time, it's going to set you back big time in your gaming here in Rise of Kingdoms. If you guys like Rise of Kingdoms content tips and guides, consider subscribing and turn your notifications on for daily updates about Rise of Kingdoms. So today, the first commander that you should avoid, I'm just kidding, you're not looking at it. Yi Seong-Ye is a commander that you should get, okay? The first commander that you should avoid investing is, I would recommend to tell you right now, is El Cid. Now, you're probably going to ask, why did I have Max El Cid? I have a Max El Cid because during the time that I was playing, there are no other commanders to maxed out. Now, we had no choice but to work on El Cid. This is a commander that I would recommend for you to avoid. El Cid is a commander that you can also obtain from your tavern. So remember, when you first start into the game, you have to summon your first commander. Remember, you have to help that barbarian in the tutorial. You can actually get many commanders in here from the tavern. So as you can see in the rewards list in here, in the gold chest reward, I can obtain El Cid through here. So in the future, when you can get a lot of the gold keys, you can eventually work on El Cid and max him out. But the utility of El Cid is not really that great. The utility of it is not going to serve you the biggest purpose in the long term. If you can save your sculptures and invest into other commanders, you'll be better far along playing with that approach. Also, anything that you find in the gold chest rewards in here, I wouldn't really recommend for you to invest your universal sculptures because you can get them for free accessing the gold key. It may take a little bit of a while to get through all this, but there are way better commanders that you can use your universal sculpture. The only exception that you can probably use your universal sculpture is more than likely will be Cao Cao or Charles Martel. For the most part, I wouldn't even recommend for you. All right. So let's talk about the next commander that you should avoid. The next commander that you should avoid, I would say Julius Caesar. I should have said Julius Caesar in the very beginning because Julius Caesar is going to be your mightiest governor commander. So there's going to be an event where you have to compete with other players. You might be inclined to compete hard and use all your speed ups. But this commander is not really that very valuable. So Julius Caesar in here, I don't even have this maxed out. I don't work on this. I've got this, this skill level right now through the, tavern. You don't really need to max out Julius Caesar. Yes, Julius Caesar has some early utility. You can definitely do like Julius Caesar YSG. If you're a spender, you can work on Julius Caesar. It will definitely give you a heads up on against others, weaker players. But if you are a free to play and a low spender, I wouldn't recommend this for you. If you're a big spender, yes, you can go for the Julius Caesar because you're going to need to power up for the mightiest governor. You're going to need to use your speed ups to go ahead and be stronger than everybody. Then it's that situation that is fine. Free to play, please try to avoid Julius Caesar. This commander will have no use for you in the long run. Nobody uses this commander anymore in our level and stage right now. So, if you avoid these commanders that I'm going to tell you today, you're going to be better far along with the commanders that you're going to be investing instead of these commanders. We also made a video about our 2022 Archer Guide, 2022 Infantry Guide, 2022 Cavalry Guide. Make sure to check those videos out because that will navigate you to a better situation in your investment in Rise of Kingdoms. Take your time to watch those and let me know in the comment section below if you guys have already seen them so we know where your skill level right now is or your knowledge within the game in that sense. So the next commander that I would say that you should avoid, and this is quite enticing to work on, especially back then, players were like, we didn't have much commanders, and Frederick seems to be really interesting to invest on. I would recommend for you guys to avoid Frederick. This is a commander that you should avoid. Don't use your universal sculpture. You can get Frederick as well in the tavern. Frederick is not really that strong. It may seem strong in the early stage because you're whacking against other players that are not strong. But once you get into this stage where I'm at, Season of Conquest, or into KVK 3, KVK 2, your Frederick will not be that good. It will get smacked in the booty, and you're going to regret working on Frederick, and you're going to remember I said this in this video. And if you've listened to me and not invest on Frederick, you're going to thank me, because you can invest on other commanders by using your universal sculptures on other commanders that are going to come out. Typically, those that comes out in the Wheel of Fortune, they're pretty good. That's my biggest advice for you. Don't invest on Frederick. You might get enticed to where like, oh, I can have a bigger troop capacity. I've got some healing factor in here. I got some decent damage in here, but this is very minimal. Not even to the grand scheme of like, top commanders. Frederick, definitely not something that you should invest on. Now, another commander that I would say don't invest on if you are a free-to-play. Now, if you are a spender, that is fine to invest on this commander. I don't even think I have it maxed out, so we're going to scroll down in here. Where is she? She is right here. Mulan. Mulan is a commander that I don't recommend for you as a free-to-play. Even for spenders, it's not really that important to work on this. It has some utility. It has some utility to buff in the field. So if you're a mega spender, you have a lot of sculptures, then that's fine. But if you're a moderate spender, a free-to-play, I would highly recommend that you avoid Mulan, because you can get other commanders that are much better in the sense of being good in PvP and as well as being good in PvE. Now, Mulan really is not something that you should work on. I feel like it's going to be a waste of universal sculpture, because there are, like I said, other set commanders that are going to be much better, focusing on infantry, focusing on cavalry, focusing on archers. So Mulan is something that you should avoid. You might be interested in it because you're going to see like, oh, this is going to help out my other team. Good buff, marching speed bonus, damage reduction, rage reduction. It's amazing. But the utility of this is not practical in the sense of, in the later stages of the game. So avoid this, and you're going to thank me later. You can see, guys, that there is so many commanders in here. If you just pay attention to commanders that I'm investing, these commanders that I've maxed out, most of them have the most utility in the game. Of course, some of them is not, because some of them I've accumulated over time, and some of them, I had to max them out because I didn't have any choice, because back then there were no commanders. So Mulan, definitely a no-no. Now, when you're playing your KVK Season 1, you're going to get this commander, and you're going to think like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is like the best commander that I can get, because you win the first KVK. Now, once you get Charlemagne in your first KVK, please do not use your universal sculpture on investing on Charlemagne. This is a commander that is absolutely trash. Nobody works on this. Nobody maxes out. People who max this out don't even utilize them. Please do not work on Charlemagne. You'll never have any use for this. Yeah, you can find the open field. It's not going to be that great. You're thinking about conquering. Yes, it has some good conquering skills, but there are other much better conquering skills from other commanders that you will find later on as you progress within the game. So avoid Charlemagne. Now, next commander that I would say to avoid is Lubu. This was a Dynasty Warrior character released in Rise of Kingdoms. You might say, oh, I really love Dynasty Warriors. I used to play this. I played this. I love Lubu in the Dynasty Warriors. He was really strong. But here in Rise of Kingdoms, he is not good. I've seen players that maxed out Lubu when it first came out. Other creators talked about this. I said, don't work on Lubu. Don't max Lubu. It's a waste. I'm giving you the honest advice in here. You might see like, oh, Lubu has defense reduction 40%. It's not good. Low damage in here. Leadership skill as well. And conquering, you're not really, it's not going to work out very well for you. Lubu is not a good commander. You can, the reason why I'm telling you this is because there's so many commanders in here that are going to be so much stronger than Lubu. If you use your sculptures in here, you're going to miss out on investing on other commanders instead. And when you do that, you're going to get set back huge. And your Lubu is just going to get wrecked, is going to get killed in the field, and you're going to suffer a lot because you then now have to heal your troops a lot more times than others. Your kill points are going to go lower. That's going to increase. So don't invest on Lubu, all right? That's the biggest advice that I can tell you. Your resources are going to decrease because you're going to lose your battle. Your speed up's going to decrease because you're going to speed things up. You're going to heal them up. So Lubu, not a good choice. There are many other commanders to work on in the early KVK. Work on Charles Martel. Work on Tao Tao. Right? These commanders are good. Work on Richard. These commanders are great. You'll have Richard in the Wheel of Fortune. Save up your gems for it. I would say Thutmost, it's exception. Thutmost is pretty decent, decent enough to work on. So if you want to work on the legendary commander that's in a tavern as well, you can work on Thutmost. He's pretty decent. I still recommend not to work into the golden chest commanders, but Thutmost is actually a really decent commander that you can get in the golden chest as well. I would recommend that in the early stage, in the KVK1, don't get hung up on legendary commanders. Work on some of the epics. As you can see, I even worked on some of my epics. Work on Zun Chu. Work on Herman. Work on Kosonoki. Baybars. Those commanders in the game will help you in the early stages. So your foundation in the first KVK. Not everybody's going to have all legendaries right away. So utilize these epics and build onto the right path of the right legendary commanders. If you guys have more questions, comment in the comment section below. So that's my biggest advice for you guys. Avoid the commanders that we've talked about. Invest in the epics. Work on them. Set a good foundation. Have a clear path what you're deciding on. Are you going to be infantry gang, cavalry gang, or archer gang? So once you've decided onto that, you can focus on investing onto the right proper path of commanders in the game. With that being said, rockers, hopefully this video is actually very helpful. If you like it, press like. If you have not subscribed yet, I would love for you guys to subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.